The only disease you can't catch sounds like the title of a passage or essay and explains 6 key words, usually means key vocabulary taken directly from that text. Please tell me one of the following. The 6 words you want explained, or share the passage's text, or why say which class, grade, or exam this is for. Once you do, I'll explain each word clearly and simply. 1, attitude. Attitude refers to the way a person thinks, feels, and responds to situations in life. It is an inner state of mind that influences how we react to success, failure, happiness, or hardship. Unlike physical diseases, attitude is not something that can be caught from others. It is formed through personal choice and experience. In the context of the only disease you can't catch, attitude is described as powerful because it shapes our actions and decisions. A positive attitude helps a person remain hopeful, motivated, and determined even in difficult situations. A negative attitude, on the other hand, can make small problems feel overwhelming and lead to failure or despair. Attitude affects relationships, work performance, and personal growth. 2 people may face the same problem, but their attitudes will determine completely different outcomes. This is why attitude is often described as more important than intelligence, talent, or circumstances. Two, mindset is the collection of beliefs and thoughts that shape how a person views themselves and the world. It influences how challenges, effort, and failure are perceived. A person's mindset can either limit their potential or help them grow. There are generally 2 types of mindsets. Fixed mindset, believing abilities cannot change. A growth mindset, believing abilities can improve through effort. In this passage, mindset connects closely to attitude. A healthy mindset encourages learning from mistakes and seeing challenges as opportunities. Since mindset is internal, it cannot be transferred like a disease. It must be developed intentionally. A strong mindset allows individuals to stay focused and resilient, especially when faced with criticism or setbacks. 3, optimism is the tendency to expect positive outcomes and to focus on hope rather than fear. Optimistic people believe that problems are temporary and that solutions can be found. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, optimism represents a healthy mental state that strengthens attitude. Optimistic individuals are more likely to persevere, maintain motivation, and inspire others. Their outlook helps them cope with stress and disappointment. Optimism does not mean ignoring problems. Rather, this quality must be chosen in practice. It cannot be caught from others. Four. Pessimism is the habit of expecting negative outcomes and focusing on what might go wrong. A pessimistic person often doubts success and assumes failure before trying. The passage contrasts pessimism with optimism to show how harmful a negative attitude can be. Pessimism
let's go.
and weakened determination. When people constantly think negatively, they may give up easily or avoid challenges altogether. Although pessimism can be caused by experiences, it remains a personal mental state. It trains many to maintain their thought patterns and beliefs.
Go.
5. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulty.
Let's go.
Moving forward despite hardship. It is a key quality associated with a strong attitude.
No.
In the context of the essay, resilience shows how attitude
Someone's about to break something.
life includes failure, loss, and disappointment. But resilient individuals use these experiences to grow stronger rather than give up. Resilience develops through experience, discipline, and positive thinking. It cannot be borrowed or taught from someone else. It must be built internally. Going No. 6. Perspective. Perspective refers to the way a person interprets events and situations. It determines whether a challenge is seen as a disaster or an opportunity to learn. The passage emphasizes that changing one's perspective can change one's entire life. 2 people may face the same situation, but their perspectives will create very different emotional responses and outcomes. A healthy perspective encourages gratitude, patience, and understanding. Since perspective is shaped by personal like a physical, that cannot pass about conclusion. The Only Disease You Can't Catch highlights that attitude and mental qualities such as mindset, optimism, resilience, and perspective are personal choices, not contagious conditions. While diseases spread without consent, attitude is something each individual must develop and control. Together, these 6 keywords explain why attitude is one of the most powerful forces in human life, shaping success, happiness, and character. Perspective refers to the way a person interprets events and situations. It determines whether a challenge is seen as a disaster or an opportunity to learn. The passage emphasizes that changing one's perspective can change one's entire life. Two people may face the same situation, but their perspectives will create very different emotional responses and outcomes. A healthy perspective encourages gratitude, patience, and understanding. Since perspective is shaped by personal reflection and attitude, it cannot be passed on like a physical illness. Conclusion: the only disease you can't catch highlights that attitude and mental qualities such as mindset, optimism, resilience, and perspective are personal choices, not contagious conditions. While diseases spread without consent, attitude is something each individual must develop and control. Together, these 6 keywords explain why attitude is one of the most powerful forces in human life, shaping success, happiness, and character. The expression, "the only disease you can't catch," is commonly used as the title of an essay or passage that discusses attitude. The central idea of the passage is that while many diseases are contagious and can be transmitted from one person to another, attitude is different. It cannot be caught accidentally or inherited through physical contact. Instead, attitude is a personal choice shaped by one's thoughts, beliefs, and reactions to life. The passage teaches an important moral lesson that success or failure in life often depends not on external circumstances, but on how individuals respond to those circumstances. A person may have intelligence, wealth, or opportunity, but without the right attitude, these advantages may be wasted. Conversely, someone with limited resources but a strong, positive attitude can achieve great success. To fully understand the message of the passage, it is important to explain certain key words that carry its meaning. The 6 key words explained below are attitude, mindset, optimism, pessimism, resilience, and choice. Each of these words represents a mental or emotional quality that influences human behavior and determines life outcomes. Attitude refers to a person's way of thinking, feeling, and reacting toward people, situations, and events. It is an internal condition of the mind that shapes behavior and decisions. Attitude determines whether a person approaches life with hope or fear, confidence or doubt, enthusiasm or discouragement. In the context of the only disease you can't catch, attitude is described as something that cannot be transmitted like a virus. You cannot catch a positive attitude simply by sitting near a positive person, and you cannot be forced to have a good attitude against your will. It is something each individual must consciously develop and maintain. Attitude plays a crucial role in everyday life. In education, a student with a positive attitude towards learning is more likely to succeed than a naturally intelligent student with a careless or negative attitude. In the workplace, employers often value attitude as much as skill because a good attitude encourages teamwork, responsibility, and persistence. A negative attitude, on the other hand, can damage relationships, reduce productivity, and limit personal growth. People with negative attitudes tend to blame others, complain excessively, and avoid responsibility. The passage teaches that changing one's life begins with changing one's attitude because attitude influences actions, and actions determine results. 2. Mindset. Mindset is closely related to attitude, but it refers more specifically to the beliefs a person holds about themselves and their abilities. It is the mental framework through which individuals interpret their experiences and challenges. There are 2 commonly discussed types of mindset. Fixed mindset, where a person believes abilities and intelligence cannot change. Growth mindset, where a person believes abilities can be developed through effort and learning. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, mindset explains why people respond differently to the same situation. A person with a growth mindset sees failure as an opportunity to learn, while someone with a fixed mindset sees failure as proof of weakness. Mindset affects how people handle criticism, effort, and challenges. A healthy mindset encourages perseverance, curiosity, and self-improvement. Because mindset is formed internally through thought patterns and experiences, it cannot be caught like a disease. It must be intentionally cultivated through self-awareness and discipline. The passage emphasizes that changing one's mindset can change one's destiny. When individuals believe in their capacity to grow, they are more likely to take risks, work harder, and overcome obstacles. 3. Optimism. Optimism is the tendency to expect positive outcomes and to believe that good things can happen even in difficult circumstances. An optimistic person focuses on possibilities rather than limitations and maintains hope during adversity. In the passage, optimism is presented as a powerful element of a healthy attitude. Optimistic individuals are not blind to reality. Rather, they choose to believe that challenges can be overcome. This belief motivates them to continue trying instead of giving up. Optimism has practical benefits. Studies show that optimistic people often experience better mental health, stronger relationships, and greater success in their careers. In everyday life, optimism helps individuals remain calm during crises and motivated during setbacks. The passage teaches that optimism is not contagious. One cannot simply catch optimism from another person. Although positive people may inspire others, each individual must decide to think positively and nurture hope within themselves. 4. Pessimism. Pessimism is the opposite of optimism. It is the tendency to expect negative outcomes and to focus on problems rather than solutions. A pessimistic person often assumes failure before making an attempt and doubts the possibility of success. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, pessimism is shown as a harmful mental habit that weakens attitude. Pessimistic individuals are more likely to give up easily, avoid challenges, and blame circumstances for their failures. Pessimism affects not only the individual but also those around them. Constant negativity can discourage others, damage relationships, and create an unhealthy environment at home, school, or work. The passage implies that pessimism, like optimism, is a personal mental state. While life experiences may influence pessimism, it remains a choice reinforced by repeated negative thinking. Because of this, pessimism cannot be transmitted like a disease. It is sustained by one's own thoughts. 5. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulties and continue moving forward despite challenges, failures, or disappointments. It refers to emotional strength and mental toughness. In the context of the passage, resilience is a key result of a positive attitude. Life is unpredictable, and everyone faces hardship at some point. What distinguishes successful individuals from unsuccessful ones is not the absence of problems, but the presence of resilience. Resilient people do not allow failure to define them. Instead, they learn from mistakes and use setbacks as motivation to improve. Resilience helps individuals cope with stress, loss, and change without losing hope. The passage teaches that resilience cannot be caught or borrowed. Watching someone else overcome hardship does not automatically make a person resilient. Resilience must be developed through experience, self-discipline, and a positive outlook on life. 6. Choice. Choice is one of the most important concepts in The Only Disease You Can't Catch. It refers to the power individuals have to decide how they think, feel, and respond to situations. The passage emphasizes that attitude is a choice, not an accident. People may not choose their circumstances, but they always have the power to choose their reactions. This idea highlights personal responsibility and self-control. Every day, individuals make choices that shape their attitudes, choosing gratitude over complaint, effort over laziness, hope over despair. These choices gradually form habits, and habits shape character. The concept of choice reinforces the idea that attitude cannot be caught like a disease. Since attitude is chosen, no one else can force it upon another person. Each individual is responsible for their own mental and emotional state. Conclusion. The Only Disease You Can't Catch teaches a powerful lesson about human responsibility and inner strength through the keywords attitude, mindset, optimism, pessimism, resilience, and choice. The passage explains that success and happiness are largely determined by how people think and respond to life. Unlike physical diseases, attitude is not contagious. It cannot be passed from person to person without consent. Instead, it is shaped by conscious decisions, beliefs, and habits. By choosing a positive attitude, developing a healthy mindset, and building resilience, individuals can overcome challenges and achieve personal growth. The passage ultimately encourages readers to take control of their inner lives, reminding them that while they cannot control everything that happens to them, they can always control their attitude. If you want this, The Only Disease You Can't Catch is a popular title used in essays and comprehension passages to communicate a powerful moral lesson about attitude and personal responsibility. While physical diseases such as malaria, influenza, or COVID-19 can be transmitted from one person to another through contact or exposure, the passage argues that attitude is different. It cannot be caught, transferred, or imposed on anyone. Instead, it is an internal condition shaped by individual thinking, beliefs, and choices. The central message of the passage is that attitude determines how people respond to life's challenges and opportunities. Two people may face the same circumstances, poverty, failure, criticism, or success, yet their lives may turn out completely differently because of their attitudes. The passage teaches that success, happiness, and character are not primarily determined by circumstances, but by how individuals choose to react to them. To fully understand this message, it is important to examine the key words that carry its meaning. The 6 key concepts explained in this essay are attitude, character, perspective, motivation, discipline, and responsibility. Each of these concepts relates to the idea that attitude is a personal decision rather than a contagious condition. Attitude is the way a person thinks, feels, and behaves towards situations, people, and life in general. It is a mental and emotional position that influences actions and reactions. Attitude determines whether someone approaches life with confidence or fear, hope or despair, determination or laziness. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, attitude is described as something that exists entirely within the individual. Unlike a disease, it cannot be transmitted through physical contact or environment. A person surrounded by positive people can still maintain a negative attitude if they choose to do so, just as someone in a negative environment can remain positive through personal effort. Attitude affects every area of life. In education, students with a positive attitude are more willing to learn, ask questions, and improve. In the workplace, employees with good attitudes are more cooperative, reliable, and productive. In relationships, attitude influences communication, patience, and understanding. A negative attitude, however, can limit progress. It encourages blaming others, avoiding responsibility, and giving up easily. The passage emphasizes that changing one's life begins with changing one's attitude, because attitude influences behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. 2. Character. Character refers to the moral and ethical qualities that define a person. It includes traits such as honesty, integrity, patience, courage, and humility. Character shows who a person truly is, especially in difficult situations when no one is watching. In the context of the passage, character is closely connected to attitude. A person's attitude reveals their character, and repeated attitudes eventually form character. For example, someone who consistently chooses patience over anger develops a patient character. Character is not inherited automatically, nor can it be caught like a disease. It is built gradually through repeated choices and actions. The passage suggests that a strong character is the result of a disciplined and positive attitude maintained over time. Good character helps individuals earn trust and respect. It enables people to make wise decisions and stand firm in the face of pressure or temptation. Poor character, on the other hand, often results from negative attitudes such as selfishness, bitterness, or dishonesty. Perspective is the way a person views and interprets events and situations. It is the mental lens through which life is seen. Perspective determines whether a challenge is viewed as a disaster or as an opportunity to learn and grow. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, perspective explains why people respond differently to the same circumstances. One person may see failure as proof of inability, while another sees it as a lesson for improvement. The situation remains the same, but the perspective changes the outcome. Perspective is shaped by attitude and mindset. A healthy perspective encourages gratitude, patience, and resilience. It allows individuals to focus on what they can control rather than what they cannot. Because perspective is internal, it cannot be transmitted like a disease. No one can force another person to see life in a positive way. Each individual must choose how they interpret their experiences. 4. Motivation. Motivation is the inner drive that pushes a person to act, work, and pursue goals. It is the reason behind effort and persistence. Motivation answers the question, why do I keep going? In the passage, motivation is linked to attitude because a positive attitude fuels motivation. When individuals believe in themselves and see value in their efforts, they are more motivated to work hard and overcome obstacles. Motivation can come from internal sources, such as personal goals and self-belief, or external sources, such as rewards and encouragement. However, lasting motivation usually comes from within. The passage emphasizes that motivation cannot be caught like a disease. Watching others succeed may inspire someone, but true motivation must be developed internally. Without self-motivation, individuals may give up when faced with difficulty. Discipline is the ability to control one's actions, emotions, and desires in order to achieve long-term goals. It involves consistency, self-control, and commitment. In The Only Disease You Can't Catch, discipline represents the practical expression of a good attitude. A positive attitude without discipline may lead to good intentions but poor results. Discipline turns attitude into action. Discipline helps individuals stay focused even when motivation is low. It enables students to study regularly, workers to perform their duties responsibly, and individuals to maintain good habits. Discipline cannot be transferred or caught from others. While parents, teachers, or leaders can guide and encourage discipline, each person must practice self-control personally. The passage highlights discipline as a choice that strengthens attitude over time. 6. Responsibility. Responsibility refers to the willingness to accept ownership of one's actions, decisions, and their consequences. It involves recognizing that one's life is shaped largely by personal choices. In the passage, responsibility is a central theme. By stating that attitude, unlike physical diseases, attitude cannot be transmitted without consent. It is formed through thought, reinforced by behavior, and sustained by discipline and responsibility. By choosing a positive attitude and maintaining healthy mental habits, individuals can overcome challenges, build strong character, and lead meaningful lives. The passage ultimately reminds readers that while life may be unpredictable, attitude remains a personal choice, and that choice can make all the difference. If you want, he cannot be caught. The writer emphasizes that individuals are responsible for their own attitudes. People may face difficult circumstances, but they remain responsible for how they respond. A responsible person does not constantly blame others or circumstances for failure. Instead, they reflect on their actions and seek ways to improve. Responsibility encourages maturity and personal growth. The passage teaches that responsibility empowers individuals. When people accept responsibility for their attitudes, they gain control over their lives rather than feeling helpless or victimized. Conclusion: The Only Disease You Can't Catch delivers a strong message about personal power and inner control. Through the key concepts of attitude, character, perspective, motivation, discipline, and responsibility, the passage explains that success and failure are largely influenced by mental and emotional choices rather than external conditions. A simpler version. Exam-style short answers or explanations of different 6 key words. Tell me and I'll adapt it exactly. Responsibility refers to the willingness to accept ownership of one's actions, decisions, and their consequences. It involves recognizing that one's life is shaped largely by personal choices.